welcome back, or welcome if you're new. My name is Damla and I make videos about books and reading on here. Today I thought I would do the... Shoot, what is this tag called again? Today I'm doing the mid-year book freakout tag, the mid-year freakout book tag. Today I'm doing the mid-year book out. Today I'm doing the mid-year book freakout tag. Finally, I said it right. We're already in June, which still is not really clicking for me. I thought it would be fun to do this tag just to like reflect on my reading this year. I'm also going to do a June wrap up, but that is solely about like all of the books that I've read, and I thought that like this tag would also be kind of fun to spice it up a little. So the first question is best book you've read so far in 2024. My favorite book of this year so far is All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir. I loved this so much. I gave it 5 stars. I was absolutely crushed. I cried, I laughed, I smiled, I giggled, I felt angry, I felt sad, I felt so many things. I find it hard to describe the storyline. You just really have to read it. It's a young adult contemporary novel, or well, book novel. Nothing, not the same. I also just really like how Sabaa Tahir writes. I'm thinking of also reading An Emery in the Ashes because I haven't yet. And she's also releasing a new book, I think either next year or by the end of this year, I'm not sure, another fantasy book. So I'm going to read that as well, I think. This is just amazing. The writing is absolutely beautiful. And especially as someone who is like a daughter of immigrants, this just really is. It's really, really good. I loved it. Next we have best sequel you've read so far in 2024. I don't even have to think about this one. Let me get the book. That has to be We Free the Stars by Hafsa Faizal. This was so good. It is like 570 pages, which I think is the longest book I've read this year. I remember looking at the page count, it's like 570 or something, and being like, girl, like, what is there to say about it? Like, do we really have to say that much? And yes, we do. So this is a duology. This is a fantasy book, which takes place in this land inspired by ancient Arabia. To make a long story short, our two protagonists are both sent off to like get this like sacred artifact to restore. Well, one of our main characters, Zafira, is sent to do this to restore magic, and Nasir is sent to get this because our other main character, because he is sent by his father, who is the Sultan, and he is an assassin, to kill Zafira. And it's kind of an enemies to lovers it's very slow burn. I think some people say I think it's quite slow burn, I would say. Overall, just really good. And what I especially liked about this sequel is that every issue, well, not every, but a lot of the issues I had with book 1 were kind of like not there in book 2. One of the issues I had especially had to do with pacing in the first book, We Hunt the Flame, because I felt like in We Hunt the Flame there was a point where the story wasn't really going anywhere. It felt like, slight spoiler, but it felt like we were in the desert for way longer than we were, I think. But here I think the pacing is really good and I just really liked it. I also overall love Hafsa Faizal's writing style. Like, I remember thinking even if I wasn't going to like this, I was probably still going to read other books written by her because I just really like how she writes and I definitely recommend it. And yeah, so that's my favorite sequel this far. The third question is new releases you haven't read yet but want to. I think if we're going off of releases from this year, I don't own that many actually. A lot of the books I have bought are like backlist, or well, they are recent, but like not from this year. But I bought A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faizal. Okay, so I like her books. I really want to read this one. I'm really looking forward to it. So this takes place in the same place, or in the same world as We Hunt the Flame, but in a different like land/kingdom. It's about our main character Arthi, who runs like this tea room. She must lead like this group of people to go on a heist. This is part of a duology, I think. There's at least a second book coming out next year, which Hafsa Faizal announced on her Instagram, and I'm also super excited. I'm probably going to buy that one as well. But yeah, just putting that out there. So like if you read this book and you want to read the second one, you can't just yet. Most anticipated release for the second half of the year. That's a good question actually. I did a video about this last week, so I should remember. what books are coming out in the second half of this year. The Reckoning of Roku by, I'm so sorry, I forgot the author, but you will see it on the screen somewhere, which is part of, I think it's going to be part of a duology of like Avatar Roku from Avatar The Last Airbender. I haven't read the other books yet. There are also like books about the other avatars that are featured in the show. And I really want to read the one about Roku as well, so I might buy that when it comes out. I don't know for sure yet. But yeah, that is one that I'm really excited for. And I hope it'll be good. It should be good. It's Avatar The Last Airbender, so it will be. Biggest disappointment of the year. Ooh. I kind of know already. So before I show you the book, I want to let you know I did rate this 3.5 stars, so I wasn't like thinking of it. I might bring it down to 3, but still, like, I didn't hate it. I'm just putting that out there, like, I didn't hate this book. So my biggest disappointment of this year, sadly, has been A Vow So Bold and Deadly by Bridget Kemmerer. This is the third and final book of the Cursebreaker series, I think. The first book is A Curse So Dark and Lonely, the second one is A Heart So Fierce and Broken, and then this is like the concluding book. So long story short, this is like a Beauty and the Beast retelling, although I will say in the second and third book it kind of deviates from that. It's not really as relevant anymore. I started reading A Curse So Dark and Lonely I think in like 2020 or 2021, and it took me a while to read the other books, I think because like I was in a reading slump for a while, because of many things, because of me being in high school and being busy and having exams, and then when I started uni that was kind of overwhelming, so I finally got back to reading like somewhere last year, maybe even before that, like regularly doing it. I was really excited for this, but I was a little disappointed by it. The ending book felt very underwhelming, to be honest, and I wasn't a fan of Harper in this book. I don't know what it was. I mean, slight spoilers, she goes through quite a lot in the first and second book, but I felt like in terms of personality there were some things that just didn't feel very in character, if that makes sense. And I don't want to sound mean when I say that, because I mean the writer knows their character the best, but it just like it didn't feel right for me. If you enjoyed this and if you loved it, that's all good. If you hated it, that's also fine. I'm just a bit in the middle where like it's not bad, but I remember when I finished it just thinking like, oh, like this is it. Like I didn't even register that it was finished. I was just kind of like, okay, this is it. I will say I really like Bridget Kemmerer's writing style, and her books read very fast, so I'm not saying that I'm completely abandoning her books. I think she has another duology or trilogy of Defy the Night that I might check out, but yeah, just putting that out there. Like it was just like this book I wasn't a fan of. I loved the first book. Second book was also really good. 6 is biggest surprise. That is a good question. I think this was actually a book that wasn't even on my radar until a friend of mine gifted it to me, and that is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. I loved this so much. I loved it. I mean, I tabbed it quite a lot, and I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did. I was expecting it to be good and like, because the premise sounds very cute. To like summarize the plot of this book, we follow Linus Baker, who works at the department in charge of magical youth. He's basically monitoring these orphanages full of magical children, and he's monitoring them, making sure that like they're being treated right, and he's basically writing these reports and judging whether he thinks they should remain open or not. And he is sent to go to an exceptional orphanage, as referred to by like extreme upper management, which is like this very big scary thing. Supposedly there's an orphanage with 6 very dangerous children, and Linus has to judge this orphanage and then write out a very detailed case report of the orphanage and about each child. I've seen some people say that the writing style wasn't for them, so I think that is really just a matter of taste. I mean, most of these things are. But I think overall it's very sweet. It's not all rainbows and sunshine. It also goes into like prejudice and hate and bigotry, but I think in like a very beautiful way. And we also get some romance, perhaps, which I thought with the romance was adorable. So yeah, that was probably my biggest surprise of the year, because I wasn't even expecting, like, it wasn't even on my TBR, it was just gifted to me, and I was like, oh, let me just read this, and there we are, here we are. Favorite new author, debut or new to you? Going to say 2, I think. So about to hear, just because I really liked All My Rage, and maybe calling her my favorite author is a little risky because I've only read one book, but I feel like she's definitely up there. And Hafsa Faisal, I love her writing, and I also just think she's really cool. I follow her on Instagram, and she has this adorable cat that makes like features and posts and videos and stuff, and it's just really cute. Yeah. There aren't a lot of authors of which I've read like multiple books, so this is a little difficult for me to judge. So it's a little bit of like a surface level answer. Newest fictional crush? Newest? I don't know. I don't really have like fictional crushes that much. So this is kind of boring, but I'm going to go the classic route and say Mr. Darcy from Pride and Prejudice. I really love him, especially in the movie adaptation. Who was the actor playing him again? Matthew McFadden? He's so like painfully awkward that it's cute, and I just think he's very sweet, and he also like portrays him very well. And also of course Darcy in the book is portrayed greatly, so I think I would have to say Mr. Darcy. Newest favorite character? Ooh, I'll have to say Lucy from The House in the Cerulean Sea. Kind of is a spoiler, so if you are looking to read this book, maybe skip this. But Lucy has a very like morbid sense of humor that Linus is like terrified by, but I thought it was absolutely hilarious. Maybe that's a sign that there's something wrong with me, but I thought it was funny, and I didn't take it seriously from the start. I was like, this kid is hilarious. Number 10, book that made you cry. Okay, so there are multiple. All My Rage made me cry. I think We Free the Stars made me cry as well. No, wait, We Hunt the Flame made me cry. Oh, I cried so hard. But that's the end of last year. I think The House in the Cerulean Sea made me like tear up, but not necessarily cry. But like All My Rage, I was at some point just like tears streaming down my face. Next up, a book that made me happy. Well, there's probably quite a lot. I think the last book that made me happy was actually an arc that I read. No, I mean, The House in the Cerulean Sea also made me happy, but I don't want to keep repeating like the same books every time. But I really liked Romancing on Jeju, of which I read the arc. It's coming out on August 20th this year, I think. That book made me that book had a lot of emotions. I think I was just really like cheering on all of the characters, and I think they all got their happy ending in some way, which made me really happy, to be honest. So yeah, that's the book that made me happy. For those who don't know, so Romancing on Jeju, we follow three main characters that go on this trip to Jeju Island, which is an island in South Korea, to find one of the girls is like this guy that this girl met in the friend group, and he kind of like went MIA all of a sudden. Like, she has no clue what happened to him, so they're kind of trying to seek out this guy, and then her other friends are joining her under the guise of like, oh, we're gonna film this documentary or like do marketing stuff, which they are doing, but like the underlying reason is something else. And so yeah, we follow them, and there's also a lot of other stuff happening. The plot kind of sounds like a K-drama, but I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the book. I think I gave it 4 stars or something, so really enjoyed that. Number 12, next up we have most beautiful book you've bought so far this year. I keep giving the same answers, but I'm going to switch it up a little bit. So one of them is A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faisal. I mean, look at this cover. It is gorgeous. Like, it's so pretty. I love it so much. Like, oh my goodness. Also, like, the back. I don't know. The back just looks really pretty. And the what's it called? This part is also really pretty. We also have Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I also love this cover. It's so pretty and like gives a very cozy vibe, which I think encompasses the book very well. I haven't read it yet, but basically we follow Emily Wilde. Oh, also it's written by Heather Fawcett, sorry. But in the book we follow Emily Wilde, who is planning to write this Encyclopedia of Fairies, basically. She also meets like this rival guy, I forgot, Wendell Bambleby, I still don't know, but one of those pronunciations. I've also been told that Emily Wilde is kind of socially awkward, which represent, let's go, I'm also socially awkward, so I'm really excited to read this one. But we were talking about the cover. The cover is absolutely gorgeous, so it's so, and also like the back, it looks so pretty, so nice. Finally, we have what books do you need to read by the end of the year? My entire TBR. So right now, for my June TBR, which I'm not going to be able to finish because I'm reading an arc at the moment, and I'm also been like very busy overall. But Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies is a book that I want to read. I also want to read Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I've been wanting to read this, and this is kind of going to be my entry into sci-fi. I might actually do a reading vlog of this book. It's a pretty big one. We also have Edward Said Orientalism. This is a non-fiction book. I've been very interested to read Edward Said's work, so I'm doing a reread basically because I soft DNF this one. So yeah. Then finally, I also really have to get to a book, a trilogy that I think is going to crush me. I'm a little worried, but The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I have heard so much about this. Literally every single person that I've talked to that has talked about this book has told me I have to read it and that I will love it. And I'm very excited, but I'm also very scared. I'm a little worried that I'm going to like want to finish like book 2 and 3 as soon as I finish this one, but I'm also partially on a book binding ban, so I don't know how I'm going to manage that, but we'll see. Oh my gosh, I completely forgot about another book that made me happy and also cry. I'm going to show you it now. Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. This one has also been adapted into a movie, which I also watched, and I also thought the movie was really nice. I did prefer the book a little. Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda follows Simon Spear, who is in high school, and a schoolmate / classmate of his comes across some emails that Simon has been sending to this anonymous guy named Blue with some sensitive information, and they basically have fallen in the wrong hands, and it's a pretty big deal to Simon, understandably so. And so we follow just Simon and how that unfolds, and also just like his life as he's, you know, getting older. He's in high school and he's discovering himself and also like the people around him, you know. So it's a really good book. I loved it. I finished this so quickly and I cried multiple times. But I loved it. So another book that made me happy and made me cry. Okay, that actually is everything. I was a little worried that I was going to repeat myself a lot, but I think I did pretty well with like talking about like a diverse range of books or diverse amount of books. I hope you enjoyed this, and let me know what books you have been reading this year, if there's any books to you that stuck out, or maybe any books that have like disappointed you this year, sadly. If you like this video, please give it a like, and maybe consider subscribing if you want to see more. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter. I also have Goodreads and Storygraph. I will say I haven't been as active as I usually am on my socials because I've been busy with uni stuff, but I'm really hoping to get a little more active soon. Hopefully. I'm trying. It's just been very busy. I hope you guys have a lovely day. Please take care of yourself. Enjoy the summer weather if the weather is nice over there, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.